All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the FRR Tour of Britannia. Today we have the London Pretzel, which is going to be quite long, 51 kilometers with two sprints and two KOMs. Now, if you remember from last episode, or if you've never watched it, you should go back and watch it. And if you did, a quick refresh on where we are at. We're about 92nd in the GC, and then on the green jersey, we're about 29th place. So today we're going to look to finish this race, but not go too hard on the sprint segments. We need to stay kind of high on the GC as my legs are really feeling it after this whole race. It's 51 kilometers, it's Fox Hill, you got Box Hill. I mean, it doesn't get much harder than that until later on into this race, into this series, honestly. This tour is going to be tough on the back end of things, and we're only on day 3 on Sunday, so there's a lot more racing to be done and a lot more pain to endure. So we need to make sure we are, sticking to our morals, sticking to what we know best, and that's to stay in the draft and not go all out for these sprint segments. Now, I do push a little bit for some reason before this sprint, and we're going to get right into it with some high watts, 700 watts, and we got about 14th for that sprint segment, which isn't too bad. We'll be getting hopefully a decent amount of points coming back on the other side of the green jersey. Now, we are not going to be going for the polka dot jersey because there's zero chance in hell that I finish anywhere in the top 50, I think, even with the amount of people that have just left the tour throughout the next few days, uh, I probably won't be on the leaderboard, um, just because I'm a heavier rider and these races push me to the absolute edge. So, anyways, we led a little bit into this race, about first position on an FRR tour. Hey, I'll take it. We're gonna go back up this kind of silent hill. I don't know what it's called, but there is a name for it. I just don't know what it is. The group is honestly being really nice right now. That's something that I noted to Josh, one of our friends, who's also in the habanero class, and he streams these races. I told him like everything before Box Hill was honestly very easy. No one really pushed too hard, and everyone's legs were probably screaming after the first 2 days. So it was nice to have a relaxing stage for once. And that is all about to change as we start the climb to Fox Hill here. Now, Fox Hill is going to be our first KOM. If you don't remember the screen that came on in the beginning of this, it goes sprint segment, Fox Hill, sprint segment, Box Hill. Now, my big question mark was, am I going to be able to stick with riders? Am I going to lose a bunch of time? And yes, I'm going to lose a lot of people, but on the back end of things, I know that I have an advantage using disc wheels. I'm going to push down this hill. I'm going to put down some power and I'm going to catch these people ahead of me. They're currently 7 seconds ahead of me, but that's not going to be for that long. I end up passing them and, they'll catch up with me as I slow down here and go into the escalator climb, which is painful. But I'm able to stick with these guys, and that's an important part of this race is that I'm going to continue to push forward and get to another group of riders. And that just means my time is going to be that much faster than if I was only with a few people. Now, starting the second sprint, I wasn't sure if I was gonna go for it, and then I said, "Screw it, let's go." And I launched quite early. I should have waited, got behind some people, but I put down some high watts and I was probably last in that whole group. So, whatever. Um, we're gonna continue pushing up and down with these guys, hopefully catching the group ahead of us as we do. And honestly, there's a lot of people here from the first group that got dropped on that climb. So starting Box Hill with 4.4 kilometers left, we have quite a big group. And our goal is just to stick with some people, get in the draft, and hopefully stay up with them for most of this ride. There's not much time left in this race, and we know we're not going for the KOMs, but at least sticking up the speed is going to get our average time just a tiny bit lower than what it should be. Now I am starting to lose it. I'm bonking. I'm at like 280, 300 watts, but the top is near. We're under a kilometer left, and now we are going to put down the power right here before the end, try to steal some seconds from anyone that is in ahead of us. And there we go. I have finished this route of the London Pretzel in 32nd place, and I am a total of 3 minutes and 30 seconds behind the leaders on this one, which is rough. Now here I have moved up to 72nd place in the general classification with a total of 3 hours and 8 minutes and 8 seconds on the clock, a total of 9 minutes and 30 seconds behind the leaders. Now moving on to the green jersey, we ended up getting some more points in this series, and now we are in 31st place, a few positions forward in both the general classification and the green jersey. That only means that the polka dot is left, but I'm not gonna waste your time. Honestly, there's nothing to it. I'm not doing well. So let's move on to race number 2, stage 4 of this tour. Now we're going to Yorkshire or Yorkshire, however you want to pronounce it, in the Harrogate 2019 Worlds for 2 laps, 28 kilometers with 480 feet of elevation, excuse me, meters of elevation. Now we are going to be doing the KOM forward climb and then the sprint for 1 lap each. Most likely will not be getting it on the second temp just because of how my legs are feeling at this point. Now, at this point of the tour, there's going to be riders that are no longer racing or coming in from stage to stage. And then you're going to also have your regular racers like me, and there's going to be a few other people in this sequence or race time that you're going to see every single race, and I've noticed who they are, and unfortunately, I'm not as fast as a bunch of them, so they just fly off my screen, but making sure I can stick with them for as much of this race as possible kind of is my goal. I really am not a fan of this world in Zwift, but I've also not really ridden it that much. It's a tough course, a lot of climbing, and is quite fast. So, my goal is just to stick with this front group for as long as humanly possible and get as fast of a time as possible for this route. I want to lower the time I have on the GC and hopefully make some time back. I don't expect to win the yellow jersey whatsoever, but I would like to at least close the gap from where I'm at right now, or just limit the damage. Now, on the other side of things, the green jersey, I am going to be going for the sprints just because I know that this is something I could possibly get a top 10 on, and that would honestly make or break my tour. I would be very confident in my abilities to get a top 10, but also I would be very happy to do so. So that's kind of my goal here on out for the tour, 4 days in. It's to finish, finish the races, and also maybe get a top 10 in the green jersey. Now I end up climbing back here to claw back to the first group, and we're going to be getting on the first sprint. Now, I'm already at 171 beats per minute here. My legs are already pretty tired, but I end up getting a decent time on this sprint, and I didn't think much of it at the time, but in the leaderboard later on, you're going to see how much of a difference that it does make in the leaderboard. Now, at this point, we're about halfway done with this race, and I've surprisingly stuck with this front group during all of the climbs, and I am feeling it. My legs hurt, my heart rate is up, And as you can see, the start of the second lap, I've start to lose it. I'm in the back of the pack, and all I see is yellow. And then the orange hits me, and I'm just like, yep, this is it. So I dropped off. I end up dropping off the back here, 19th place, and my goal is to kind of just ride it out, get this done, and hopefully not get kicked by the broom, which is kind of like the broom they have in tour cycling, where if you take too much time, they take points away. Now, in the Tour de France, they kick you out of the tour. For Zwift racing, they're not going to kick you out of a Zwift race event. So they're just going to give you points against you for any segments. I believe it's 20, but right now I have 0 because I've done at least pretty well for myself throughout this series. Now, I end up finding a lone survivor with me, and hopefully I can stick with him for the rest of this route, or I can at least drop him, possibly. But I'm at my absolute limit. I'm close to bonking, and we're only 33 minutes into this race. But luckily, only 7 kilometers left, with a lot of downhill. Now, as we get onto the Yorkshire KOM, this is it. This is where you have to shine. You get to catch people. I caught one. Maybe I can catch a second, but then my buddy just flies by me, kind of blinding me with a flashbang there. I didn't really expect that out of him, as I was, I thought I was faster than him. I thought I had more energy left, but I guess not. So now my goal is to finish at least close to him. Maybe I catch him, maybe I don't. I'm not quite too sure, but my legs are killing me. I feel like I've said that 700 times because that is what this is all about. This tour is going to continue to have just a ton of fatigue and pain and lactic acid in my legs. So I got to be strong mentally and physically, and both are taking quite the beating. So I end up losing quite a bunch of time to the group in front of me. And then my next goal is to not let up, not let the guys behind me catch me, just like a few have already gotten super close. Now, at the end here, you can see this guy gets 7 seconds from me, 6 seconds, and he's putting down a ton of power. You see him on the mini map. But again, I'm going to slide right in front of them and luckily be able to finish in 20th place, only losing 2 minutes and 52 seconds this time, 254 watts with a 3.1 watts per kilogram average. And now it is time to check the leaderboard. We have moved up a few spots and are in 69th place now after 4 stages, a total of 3 hours and 54 minutes and 19 seconds on the bike. And we're currently 12 minutes away from the leaders, so it's going to be a rough one. But on the top side, let's check out the green jersey standings. We have moved from 31st to 24th in the standings with 1,375 points. I'm quite happy with this, and by the looks of it, I could be in the top 10 by the end of the week, hopefully. I just need to make sure that I put down some big watts in the sprints and keep this going. Now, to everyone that's kept up in the series of the FRR Tour of Britannia, thank you very much for your love and support on these videos. This is a tough tour, and 4 days in, being 4 hours on the bike of racing, it's been hard, but we're going to keep grinding, hopefully win a green jersey, or at least get a top 10. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time for stage 5 and 6.